Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today I'm going to be going through my October wrap up and my November TBR. And we are going to be hoping and praying that I do not run out of storage in this video. I'm gonna try to make it as quick as possible so that I don't run out of storage on my phone, because I have been running out of storage since I've been filming so much more lately. So grab your beverage, grab a snack, take a comfy seat. I have my hot cinnamon tea from Trader Joe's, which, by the way, highly recommend. It's so good if you like a cinnamon flavored fall like black tea. It's so good. So grab your fun drink. Let's get into my October wrap up first and foremost. So the first book I read in October was The 7-Year Slip. This is by Ashley Poston. I was way behind on this one. Everyone and their mother had read this book already and I still hadn't gotten to it. I really loved this book. I honestly had really low expectations for it. Even though everybody was hyping it up like crazy, I just didn't think that I was necessarily gonna like it as much as I did. I hadn't been super into romance and was just kind of like not really wanting to hype it up too much in my head because I didn't want to get let down. But I was not let down. I absolutely loved this book. I sobbed at the end like so hard, and I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. So I definitely would recommend The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. It was a really fun read, or Poston, I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but it was a really fun read, a very good fall whimsical like magical romance. But I would say you could really read this any time of year and it was super entertaining. Next up, I had a reread of The Secret History. This was my in-person book club book for the month of October, so I did do a full like reread and annotate. As my second read through, it was a 5-star. It was a 5-star on the first read. It was a 5-star on the second read. I hadn't read this book since I think 2021 or 2022, so it had been a few years since I had picked it up, and I forgot how much I absolutely adore these characters and just how intriguing and fast-paced the character development is. I will say the plot is really slow, so it's not like a fast-paced read in that sense, but if you're paying attention to all the little intricacies of the character development, it moves in such a way that just really draws you in and makes you not want to put it down. So it's definitely not for necessarily everyone, but if you like dark academia, you like character development, you like a little bit of a psychological mystery, I would highly recommend The Secret History. Again, this one was 5 stars on both read-throughs. My next October reads, both of which I did read on my Kindle. So those were Glow of the Everflame, which is the second book of the Kindred Curse saga, I think is what it's called. But the first one is called Spark of the Everflame. If you've seen that one, all the covers like look pretty much the same. I really enjoyed Glow of the Everflame. I gave it 4 stars. I also gave Spark of the Everflame 4 stars. If you don't know what this series is about, it's essentially following our main character DM in this like world where mortals and descended are kind of at odds, and she is kind of trying to like live in the tension. She wants to create change for her world. There's a lot of injustice in her world, and she sees that, and she has a big heart for helping people and for kind of bridging that gap and just trying to like make change in this world of hers. And so starting with Spark of the Everflame, there is just a whole lot that goes on in this book. I'm not really going to talk too much about the plot because I'm so deep in now that it would be really hard to talk about without giving stuff away. But just know, if you like romantasy, if you like world building, political intrigue in your fantasy, but you don't want your like fantasy elements to be too complicated, Spark of the Everflame and the rest of the series so far has been a really fun read, and I definitely would recommend it. Like I said, I gave Glow of the Everflame 4 stars. Finally, my last book in October was The Ex-Hex. Unfortunately, I did not like this book as much as I wanted to. It got really hyped up as like the witchy romance to read in October, and so I was really just looking for like a fun rom-com type of romance. Also, I'm so sorry, wait a second. Sir, are you good? I think he's okay. Anyways, back to the X-Hex. I did not like it as much as I wanted to. Like I said, it was very hyped up by the book talk girlies as like, you have to read it. It's the best like spooky season romance. Like, it's such a good Halloween read. And I understand where they were coming from after reading it. I get the vibes. Like, the vibes were very Halloween Town Twitches. Like, it felt like a Disney Channel original movie. Like, that was a Halloween special, but the characters were so lacking in depth. The plot, like the romance was not good in my opinion. I did not enjoy the romance at all. The other like mysterious kind of plot that was going on, I was a little more invested in, and that kind of kept me going. But as far as the rest of it went, I really did not, it wasn't for me. It was not my favorite. I ended up giving it 2.5 stars, and I probably won't be recommending it. Okay, moving right along into my November TBR. I'm very, very excited about this TBR. I have been on such a bad reading streak over the last few months. I've only been reading 3 or 4 books a month. And last year, my reading goal was 75 books and I read 80 books. And this year, I only set my reading goal to 50 books because I had a goal to refine my taste a little bit and pick some books that maybe I wouldn't necessarily pick up because they're a little longer or a little more difficult to read and things like that. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna make my goal a little lower so I can prioritize these other books that aren't necessarily gonna be ones that I can move through really quickly. Well, I don't think that having a low reading goal was necessarily a good idea for me because we're already into November and I only have 39 books read. That is diabolical. I've only read not even half the number of books as I read in the entire year last year, and we only have 2 months left of the year. So I have piled up my November TBR more than I have in the past few months, and I've scheduled a 24-hour readathon with some of the girlies for later this month. Stay tuned for that vlog. But this is all in an attempt to, at the very least, get to my goal of 50 books, if not maybe a couple more, because this is insane that I'm struggling to get to my goal when I really did not set the standard that high. So anyways, I digress. Moving into our TBR, first and foremost, we have Catabasis. This book, honestly, I am not one to typically judge a book by its cover, but this book sold me on the cover. I showed this to my husband when I brought it home, and he literally was like, Katie, I think this is the prettiest book that you own. Like, I really think this is the prettiest book I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, I know. Look at these edges. This is insane. Even if I wasn't into this author or invested in this story, I would still think this book is one of the most stunning books I've ever seen. It's gorgeous. But anyways, I am excited to pick this one up. From my understanding, it is R.F. Kuang's first little dip into romantasy. I also, when reading the synopsis, it kind of gives me like Percy Jackson going to save his mom from Hades type of vibes. I have no idea if I'm gonna like this or not, but it is a dark academia fantasy, and it just really seems like it's gonna be right up my alley. I loved Babel by R.F. Kuang. It was one of my favorite reads. I believe I read it last year. I absolutely love it. And so I know I really like her writing style. So I'm just really looking forward to getting into this and seeing what I think. This is a thick one, so hopefully we can get through it this month, but we're gonna do our best. Next up, I have for my in-person book club, we are reading Dark Matter. This one I'm not too worried about getting through. It is pretty quick. I think it's under 350 pages, but this like plot or premise is super interesting to me. This is a standalone sci-fi. It is Blake Crouch. If you recognize this author, he has a couple of other like really well-known sci-fi works, and Dark Matter is actually a series on Apple TV, so I am looking forward to reading this and then hopefully watching the series as well. I've heard good things about both, but essentially it is kind of like an alternate universe type of sci-fi. So this man like wakes up and it's his life if he had made entirely different choices, from my understanding of the premise. It kind of gives the same vibe to me as Family Man, but like in a sci-fi sense. If you guys are familiar with that Christmas movie, it's like one of my favorite Christmas movies, but I don't know why, it just kind of gives that vibe to me. I don't think that that's going to be like the vibes of the book, but the premise seems like kind of similar. Next is one that I've had on my TBR for a very long time. I'm actually borrowing this book from a friend and I really need to get it back to her. So I'm putting it on my November TBR and hoping that I can get to it this month so that I can say that I've read that this year. But that is The Bright Years by Sarah Damoff. I am so excited about this book. It's short. It is a family drama, like literary fiction. It's sad. It's like all of the things that we need in November. I feel like this is going to be a good Thanksgiving read because it's so like family centered, and my family is like pretty close knit and we do always spend Thanksgiving together. So I feel like it's kind of the vibes for like the holidays, like family bonding type of season. But from my understanding, this just follows a couple of different members of the family and it's just a little bit of like their life story. This does say that there's 3 POVs and there's a bit of like a generational thing going on, which it just seems like it's gonna be heart-wrenching, which I'm really excited for. This next one I've also had on my TBR for quite some time, but this is Never Let Me Go by Kazu Ishii. I'm not really sure and I'm gonna butcher it, so I'm not gonna say it. But this is one that I actually just kind of picked up at Barnes & Noble. One of the booksellers recommended it and just said like, you need to read this if you're into like the genres that I'm into, literary fiction, mystery, dark academia, like these kinds of things. And they were like, it's modern classic vibes, like you're gonna love this. So I really don't know much about it. I don't really know what it's about. I know it follows 2 students and they are in a boarding school, and that's really all I know. But it's really short and the words aren't like super small. They're a bit small, but I feel like I could probably also get through this one pretty quickly. Yeah, it's not even 300 pages. So adding this to my list, hoping this could be one that like I could read in an afternoon. That would be fantastic. Like a Sunday afternoon with football on in the background. Yeah, that would be a vibe. Okay, I have 2 books left for my November TBR. One is A Deadly Education, another dark academia. This one is fantasy. I have tried reading this before, but only a couple pages, and I really just wasn't in the mood for it at the time. But I do think November is going to be a great month for it. I just love like fantasy fall, and especially when the setting is some kind of academy or educational establishment. So I'm really looking forward to picking this one up. I've heard not a ton about it other than that people tend to generally like it, and I believe it's a duology, so that's always fun. Finally, I have one more book on this TBR that I have just been waiting for the right moment to crack open, and I think it is finally time. This November, I am hoping, praying to pick up The Women by Kristen Hanna. This has been sitting on my shelf since February. My sister-in-law bought it for me because she read it and was like, I'm obsessed, you need this. And she read it before and was trying to like talk me into it for a few months, and I was like, yeah, I will, like, I'll pick it up. And so then she bought me the hardback for either Christmas or my birthday, so I've either had it since December or February, I can't remember now. But she was like, here, now you have it, now you have no excuse not to pick it up. And it's still just been sitting on my shelf because I've really just been waiting for the right moment. I am so scared to pick this book up because I know it is going to be so traumatic. Like, I also feel like I've overhyped it so much in my brain that I don't want to be let down by it. And I don't think I will. I really love Kristen Hanna. I've read a handful of her books and only really disliked one of them. And it was like a backlist book, like it wasn't one of her recent releases. So I really do feel like I'm gonna love this. I really enjoy like war-centered historical fiction. It's just really fascinating to me, and I loved The Nightingale. I gave it 5 stars. So based on all of the evidence, I really think I'm gonna love this book, but I've just been so scared to pick it up. But I'm putting it on my TBR. I want to pick it up in November. In fact, I think I probably will pick it up next. It'll be the next book I pick up as soon as I finish the one that I'm currently reading. So hopefully this will be read very soon. Let me know if you want me to vlog while I read it, which is also terrifying because I feel like I'm gonna sob. But okay, last is just my honorable mention, which is the book that I'm currently reading, which is Heat of the Everflame. It's the 3rd book in that like Spark whatever saga, the Kindred whatever. And I say honorable mention because I already talked about the series earlier because I read the 2nd book last month, and I'm also almost done with that one. I think I'm like 80% through, so I really don't have very much time left on that one, but I will be finishing that book in November as well. Okay, that is all I have for my November TBR. I say all, but this is probably the biggest TBR I have set for myself in a long time. I haven't been wanting to be too ambitious, but I am really looking forward to just some like cozy evenings and like weekend afternoons, like curled up in the couch. It's cold outside now, and so it's just the perfect weather to curl up with a good book, and I need to hit my reading goal because it would be really tragic if I didn't. So yes, it feels a little ambitious, but I feel like I can do it. I will let you guys know as we go along how I'm liking these books, and also probably do another wrap up at the end of this month so you can see how much I've read. Thank you guys so much for joining me, for hanging out with me for a few minutes of your day. I will see you guys in my next video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. Bye!